Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Santa Barbara County Education Office Board of Education to order. And remind everyone that we do have Spanish interpretation available. For those of you that are online, there is an option that you can readily select. I'd like to invite everybody to join me now in our pledge to allegiance. A pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Anna, roll call.
Okay, Mrs. Alvarez Flores. Here. Dr. Armistead is not here yet. Mrs. Cardy.
Here.
Ms. Ehrman.
Here.
Mrs. Frost.
Here.
Mrs. Reed. Here. Mr. Walker. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. At this time, the board is invited to make any comments. Anyone have anything they'd like to? Judy.
Since our last board meeting, we have the Santa Barbara County
School Board Association.
thank you. Annual dinner, and it was lovely, and I was fortunate, as were many of our board members, to attend, and that was a great evening indeed. And we got to see Ms. Branch again. Yes. And also the Santa Maria Chamber of Commerce State of Education event, which some of us were able to attend, and Madam Superintendent presented, and it was a really successful event and very well put together. Those slide presentations from each of the district superintendents was very interesting, very informative.
Thank you, Mrs. Frost. Anyone else? Rita.
I was able to attend the actual agricultural business dinner, strawberry growers, and it's quite an event. They held it this year during the actual strawberry festival. And it was a little interesting getting into the event, but it was quite magnificent. There were, I believe you said 800, over 800 people attending. And the meal was wonderful. The actual presentation of the grower of the year is done. And then they also honor a growing company and a grower who partners with the community. And I remember it was a Jones family for the grower of the year. I'm trying to remember who was the partner one, because I forgot my little form, but wonderful actual visuals of the whole idea of what is done with the partnership and with the growers. It was just a wonderful event. Thank you.
I too was at that CSBA dinner on April 16th and heard the fabulous Teacher of the Year for 2025, Ms. Laura Branch, speak about her transformational take on science. Many wonderful presentations. I also got to attend the Santa Barbara Education Foundation Hope Awards, where our very own Children's Creative Project was one of the honorees. And as everyone, I think, knows, the CCP is under the auspices of the Santa Barbara County Education Office since about 1975. And if you're not familiar with the organization, it brings a portfolio of dazzling, multicultural, visual, and performing artists to over 80 schools, serving over 80,000 students with arts education. And they do a fabulous job. And our founder and executive director for many decades was Kathy Corey. She was at the event, but Kai Tepper is now the executive director. She leads with vision and values and a lot of enthusiasm. So that was exciting. I also got to attend in my own community of Carpinteria on April 26th. We had the Community Association's award banquet, and we award 3 finalists for the coveted title of Junior Carpinterian of the Year. And I'm part of the selection committee, get to do lots of interviews, and it is an exercise in hope. And our winner this year was Valeria Susano, who's a first-generation college found student, fabulous, incredible athlete, student leader, advocate. She worked for Doss Williams in his office, and now she's off to McAllister University to seek advanced degrees in cognitive psychology sciences, and she's minoring in Latinx studies, and she wants to bring a message of hope and help to her community with regard to mental health and mental illness. So that was great. And the other fun part about that, which the committee did not realize, her sister had won the same Junior Carpinterian Award in 2016, and she was there from her postgrad studies at Duke. So that's the community of Carpinteria. I'm very proud of that. Are there any other comments? If not, we do have one public comment today. Victor McConnell. Hi, Victor. You have up to 5 minutes.
3, 2, 1, go. Good afternoon. My name is Victor McConnell, and I served as a computer network technician in SBCO's IT department from November 2023 through April of this year. My work focused on modernizing infrastructure, strengthening support for our educational programs, and advocating for equity, particularly in the North County. I'm speaking today because the issues I have witnessed impact areas that are directly under this board's statutory oversight. Areas such as the safety and operation of SBCO-run programs, the responsible use of public funds, and the need for transparency and accountability. Your oversight role is clearly defined under Education Code 48645.2 and board policies such as 6186, 0430, 9000, and 9005, 2 of which are going to be voted on later today. All of which emphasize governance duties for programs like JCCS and special education. It's within this context that I raise the following concerns. In 2021, the Santa Barbara County Civil Grand Jury publicly warned SBCEO about cybersecurity deficiencies, specifically with the lack of multi-factor authentication, also known as MFA. This was not theoretical, as SBCEO handles sensitive student data and financial data across the county. A swift and transparent response should have been followed. Yet years later, key upgrades remain unaddressed or undisclosed, posing risks that go beyond IT and into governance. At Kismalia, a SPED site, urgent needs were identified. Connectivity, cameras, access control were all identified as important needs. Our team of frontline staff proposed a scalable, industry-appropriate solution, the same solution that was later deployed at ECE Main Street. But at Kismalia, leadership delayed the project and allowed consumer-grade equipment to be installed and sit unaddressed for months. Meanwhile, over $90,000 in enterprise switches were approved elsewhere, without the involvement of the technicians responsible for the areas that they would be deployed in. I myself only learned about this purchase through a Public Records Act request I made while still employed, as internal inquiries were ignored. This is not just about hardware. It's about how priorities are set and whether student-focused frontline knowledge is used. Even more troubling, a recent PRA response redacted details like equipment brands of what was purchased. This approach reflects a posture towards secrecy about basic infrastructure, a stance notably different from neighboring public organizations that share such details as a matter of transparency, public accountability, or even pride. This points to a fundamental disconnect in strategic planning and resource management that the board should find concerning. These patterns point to a disconnect on how resources are managed, decisions are made, and how internal expertise is utilized. And I ask, are we here to protect leadership decisions, or are we here to protect the students and the sites that those decisions affect? Are we here to maintain the status quo, or to allow the org to evolve with frontline staff and student needs as our driving force? This brings me to personnel. Item 16 on today's agenda references SBCO's merit system, which emphasizes fitness and fairness. But merit also applies to retention and utilization. When qualified staff are sidelined, excluded from projects, and see responsibilities outsourced, it leads to stagnation and attrition. This isn't just an HR problem, it is a governance failure. A management audit of the IT department is underway, and while this is welcome, audits do not carry enforcement power. That responsibility falls on leadership and to this board for matters under your jurisdiction. And with that, I urge for the 4 following actions. 1, to request that Superintendent Salcido presents the full IT audit findings in a public report. published with only legally required redactions. 2, adopt standardized, transparent IT infrastructure and safety policies across all SBCO operated sites with an emphasis on JCCS and special education. 3, initiate an independent cybersecurity review separate from the management audit to assess risks, identify gaps, and evaluate alignment with longstanding recommendations such as multi-factor authentication. And finally, ensure that all major tech procurements presented to this board explicitly show how they support student safety, program needs, and the utilization of student-focused internal expertise. Ensuring the safety of our students, securing their data, and the stewarding of public funds are central to your governance role. Fulfilling SBCO's mission of equity and excellence means facing these systemic issues with urgency, openness, and accountability. I'm leaving a copy of this comment as well as some additional information with the board secretary. And I appreciate your service and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. All right. It gives me great pleasure to bring forward this next item, the Teacher of the Year announcement. If you saw the sign, not the big show, no, this wasn't it, but it feels like it should be. Susan, would you like to bring?
Good special afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon and a big thank you to the County Board of Education for making this space to honor our 2026 Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year. I want to say thank you everyone for making arrangements to be here today. It's a very special day. I know I woke up with a skip in my step because of exactly for this reason. So this afternoon, I have the very distinct honor of announcing and then introducing our 2026 Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year. And let me first, however, step back and take a moment to share some logistics and information about the award, and then also about the ceremony this afternoon. So talk logistics first. Related to the award, the Teacher of the Year, our 2025 Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year, who happens to be right here, Laura Branch, remains as our Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year through the school year, through the end of June. Each year we announce our Teacher of the Year and in May, and they serve from July 1st to the next June 30th. Today's announcement of our 2026 Teacher of the Year allows time for that individual to complete all of the necessary required elements to send to the California Department of Education for consideration for California's Teacher of the Year. I want to say a moment to say, Laura, thank you. Well, we have the minute to say thank you for serving with such enthusiasm, positivity, optimism, energy. You're just a tremendous ambassador, and say thank you so much for your service. So now related to this afternoon and some logistics and information about today. After today's ceremony, during which in a few moments we'll invite and announce our 2026 Teacher of the Year to be right here until that person takes the podium. But right after that announcement, we'll hand it over to Board President Cardy, who will take a board recess. And at that time, we'd love to coordinate several photos with the board, the Teacher of the Year, special guests, and the person that we'll be looking for that guidance is right there, Director of Communications, Cammie Barnwell. So after the recess, let's look for guidance from Cammie Barnwell to take some photos here. And then she'll actually direct several of us, you, to go outside for more photos. And I welcome you all to come back and join the board for the rest of the meeting. However, we understand if you have other priorities to attend to, we understand. All right, so now to the announcement. Being selected as our county's Teacher of the Year is, of course, special. It's so important and comes with significant responsibilities. As a recipient of education's highest honor, this individual is asked to be our county's representative for all teachers, to be an ambassador of education, and to amplify the profession of education. Our profession is undeniably vital and impactful and intellectual, physical and emotional, and hopeful and joyful. I know our 2026 Teacher of the Year is up for this responsibility. She was chosen through a rigorous process by a diverse selection committee, which included educators, administrators, members of the business community, Board President Mary Beth Carty, and our 2025 Teacher of the Year, Laura Branch. And so I want to say thank you to the entire selection committee who traveled county-wide, far and wide, with conducting interviews and observations to find just the right person for 2026. A big thank you to Stephen Keithley, our Director of Teacher Programs and Support, and Ann Flores, your assistant, for leading this process. You do it so well, Steve, and elegantly. We so appreciate your efforts very much. Our 2026 Teacher of the Year shared that she did not always imagine herself as a teacher. In fact, she calls herself the unlikely teacher, and that may be one of her greatest strengths. Our honoree has spoken candidly about her early struggles in school. As a young student, she often felt out of step with the classroom and sharing with us, I loved to learn, but it seemed learning didn't love me. And it wasn't until college that teaching even entered her orbit, and it happened almost by chance. A floor mate invited her to volunteer at a local preschool, and she went along with little expectation. But on that day, she recalls, quote, a crack of beaming purpose split wide open. She went on to say, perhaps my greatest accomplishment in education is willingly committing to a system where I felt I didn't belong. In being one of the academic others, I approached student learning in a different way. I've come to realize that I didn't need learning to come easily in order to teach others. As the unlikely teacher, I can bring a perspective to supporting students in a way that I always needed. Today, she teaches first grade, is at the forefront of literacy and reading practices, and is celebrated by her colleagues for her exceptional ability to recognize and embrace the diverse backgrounds and abilities of her students. In her own words, she shared, I didn't expect to land here, but I often stop and think about how grateful I am that I did. And we are grateful that you did too. An educator for 14 years at Monte Vista Elementary School and the reigning Teacher of the Year for the Hope School District, it is my distinct honor to announce our 2026 Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year, Natalie Wilkes. Natalie. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. Yay. Yes. Look at this. You've got to take this in. Yeah. I can't help but share just a few more words about Natalie, especially since your principal is here and your superintendent and your colleagues, your mother. Yes, and Allison Hyduk, by the way, 2015 County Teacher of the Year right there. So Hans Reinschild, your principal at Monte Vista Elementary School, shared this about you. Simply put, Natalie is a master teacher in every sense of the word. As impressed as I have been with Natalie's teaching, I have been even equally amazed by how she's one of the best systems thinkers with whom I've had the honor to work. That's from your principal. Dr. Ann Hubbard, Superintendent, who of course is here today, shared that, Natalie, you embody the qualities we value most in educators: dedication, leadership, and a relentless commitment to student success. And I have one more individual that I know would like to come up and make some comments today. I'm going to invite to the podium our board president and on the selection committee, Mary Beth Cardy, and then we'll invite you to the podium. All right, thank you. Thank you. Here is your plaque, which I can hold for you if it's. Oh, sure.
Solid gold.
It is solid.
Well, it just thrills me to welcome you up to the podium and to congratulate you on your 2026 Teacher of the Year. I was really honored to be a part of the selection committee, and I joined Susan in thanking Steve and his team for making that process, as difficult as it is, he manages to make it feel effortless. It was really a pleasure, and I had to write some things down. I walked into your classroom, and immediately it's like the air was filled with this electricity, but it was also calming. How do you do that? It was like sparkly and magical in the room, and I was taking copious notes, but then I said, I don't want to miss a thing. So I had to put those notes down. But anybody that walks into Natalie's classroom would find a group of really happily engaged, eager learners doing perky paced phonics, collaborating, sharing, doing something called Daily Five, which I recommend that we all adopt into our regular practices. It's an exercise where students have the option to move freely between various activities that build on the phonics lesson that they had just been moved through. It's everything from Play-Doh, Spellbin, where they can tactily experience letters forming words, to Lexia, where they could do that virtually. They were making informed choices, and they were definitely feeling empowered at their mastery level. The room is filled with adaptive elements. There is a place literally for everyone. And we were very impressed with a lot of wiggly first graders finding their space. There's even a corner dedicated to self-regulation and self-soothing. And we saw students utilize that and watched him take his own level of wigglies all the way down to that feeling of zen. In our interview, Natalie displayed utmost humility and constantly was deferring to her accomplishments in terms of the group and team efforts that went behind it. She's clearly a leader. We are just in very good mood. That was happy, that was hopeful, that was everything that we would hope to see in a classroom with our beloved students. And I congratulate you again. And at this time, would you like to say a few words?
I would love to say a few words. Thank you for speaking. Well, I'm truly overwhelmed with gratitude right now. And to Susan Salcido, there you are, and the board and the selection committee, thank you for taking this time to honor the teachers in the community. I wrote this down in case I got nervous. Because you're all so calm and quiet and still, and that could be a little overwhelming. They're just, start moving around a little bit. I share this recognition with my dedicated colleagues who so generously support me with their wisdom and best practices. One of them sitting right here. I'm also especially appreciative of the comms department and Steve Keithley for all of their help in the recent weeks. And I also want to thank Ann Hubbard for her support and my principal, Hans Child, who provide us with the tools and the training to help our students thrive. Thank you all. I look forward to continuing this important work with all of you. And of course, I want to thank my mom and my husband. My husband's on a field trip with his students right now, for reminding me that a moon in all of its seasons is still full. And this is a really special moment. So thank you all for sharing this with me. Should I take a picture? Sure, yeah. Thank you. Yes. Let me get back to my notes here.
I love that quote around the full moon. Yeah, very profound. Yeah, very meaningful. So Natalie will be introduced at our education celebration here in just 2 weeks, where Laura Branch will say some final remarks as the current final farewell tour at SBCS Education. Yes. Okay. So right now I will turn the mic over to our board president, Mrs. Cardy. But with that, how about we all give our 2026 County Teacher of the Year, a Santa Barbara County resounding round of applause.
Thank you. We'll now have a 10-minute recess.
So, and thank you so much for allowing the space for that ceremony. It was really, really special, and can't wait to, it's exciting to have so many teachers of the year in our space at the same time. It's like celebrity sightings. Okay, very good. The board did have before you 4 interdistrict transfer requests for June, and you know that those have been removed from the table. They're no longer happening. Having said that, we are hearing that there may be others coming to the board soon. So we thought we would take the time while we had it to really provide a primer, a very brief introduction on the role of the board for interdistrict transfer hearing requests. And to do that, Dr. Elise Simmons is here with us, and she has served in many different roles. In this case, the Child Welfare and Attendance Services. Elise, and thank you so much for being here. And we have some materials for the board as well.
Thank you. Hello, good
Okay,
afternoon, board.
Thank you.
Here you go. Thank you. And I see that you also all have a copy of the slide deck, which is great. Okay. The items that are in your folder, we'll look at them at the end of the presentation, and I'll reference them a little bit throughout the presentation, but it's something we'll look at the end, just so you know. Let's jump right in. So the agenda is we're going to go over the appeal process. I'll spend some time on the responsibilities of the board, and then we'll look at those resources that you have in your folder. And we'll have a little bit of time at the end for questions. And then my sense is if there are further questions, perhaps you can email Dr. Salcido. She can forward them to me and respond, and we'll kind of go back and forth. But my hope is that whatever questions are asked that we all get the questions and the answers. So again, that idea of just making sure we're all on the same page as much as possible with this process. So this, the interdistrict attendance appeals, we do have a board policy on it, and you'll have that in your folder. And it's also, we also follow a lot of ed code. There's a lot of relevant ed code associated with this process. And you'll also have the ed code packet in your folder. So there's basically 2 situations that bubble up that will lead to an appeal. One of them is when a district of residence has denied a request for a release to attend another district. So a family is, let's say, living in one district. They'd like to go to another district across town, and their district of attendance is like, no, you're going to stay with us. Which is not very often, but that can happen. The one that happens the most often is when a family would like to attend a desired district that is not their home district, and that desired district denies their request for the interdistrict transfer. That is the one that we see most often. Timeline. As any good appeal process, there's a timeline that we must follow. And it is all, again, we follow our board policy as well as ed code. So what will happen first is there's some requests and some documentations, possibly appeals that happened in the home district or the desired district. So there's some things that happen that can go on for months or even just weeks. That is between a family making these requests and the two different districts. Upon the final denial at the district level, some districts, it goes all the way up to their board. Sometimes it just ends at the superintendent or an assistant superintendent. Everybody follows their own administrative regulations and board policies. So upon final denial at the district level, the parent and guardian will then have 30 calendar days to then appeal that denial. And I will say that what I have seen that in the district policies for district denial, their policies and admin regulations, they'll even point to our appeal process at that final denial. So the families are aware. I've seen that a lot in their literature. So family decides within that 30 days that they are going to submit an appeal form and documentation. And we also have that in your folder there. Once we physically receive that appeal form with documentation, that's when the timeline begins. That's the countdown for the 30 calendar days. I immediately will contact Dr. Salcido, let the team know that we got one. We got to start calendaring. I work with Anna, this backwards map, timeline, and I work really closely with my administrative assistant, Michelle Sakai-Hart, who just stuck in, with the timeline, because those matter. Timelines matter. I spend a couple of days, sometimes just a day, just reviewing the appeal form and documentation, and I'm looking to make sure that the family has met the guidelines, that 30 calendar day. I'm also looking to see if it's if maybe there could be some negotiations or some further, like, hey, have you tried this? I noticed that you didn't appeal this to the board and it says that you can. And so I'm working with the family on that and making sure that the appeal is a valid appeal that should move forward. It's a valid appeal. We're going to move forward. That's when I start gathering materials for the hearing. And I know I have about 30 days to gather them. Actually, it's a lot less than that, honestly, because by the time we get all the materials, we review them, I'll show you what you'll get a little bit in a minute. We have to get it printed. So we have a very short turnaround, and I'm gathering these materials from the district as well as the parent and guardian. So it's a lot of back and forth and collecting of information. And it's all going to be presented to you. You all receive that information. We have our hearing. It's typically at a regularly scheduled board meeting, and it's either going to be an open or closed session. The policy states that it's in open session unless the family requests it to be in closed session. And so I do have that discussion with the family because they always want to know, what's the difference and things like that. But my limited experience has been they've always been in closed session so far. The county board, you hear the hearing, you deliberate. There's a little bit more details about what happens in the hearing. I'll point that to you when we get to the resources. You deliberate and you makes the decision to deny or grant the appeal, and your decision is final. Typically what I've seen, the decision is made at that meeting, but you do have with a calendar time of within school days to make a decision. We go to the next. That's the timeline. Let's talk about this information that you'll receive well in advance so that you can review it. So we call it the IDT appeal packet. It ends up being sometimes almost 100 pages. So what you'll receive is an executive summary, and I just took screenshots of some samples. So you'll get an executive summary that comes from me. It's written by me, and I go through all of the information, just trying to give you what it's like, an executive summary of the situation, timelines, information, things like that. You'll also receive interdistrict transfer appeal documentation. So there's a sample of like all the possible documents that the appealant has provided. So you can see there are a long list of different things ranging from their own interdistrict attendance appeal original form all the way to a petition of support, which we had gotten before. You also receive all of the school district documentation. And again, there's a bulleted sample list of ones that we've received in the past, email correspondence, their own documentation of anything related to this, the appeal. There's a small section where I include all of the back and forth and notifications that comes from me to the appealant and to the district. And will always get an updated California Ed Code packet, which you also have in your resource. So when I say something's like, this is 100 pages, the Ed Code packet itself is like 5 or 6. And actually, no, it's a lot more pages than that, but it's a whole bunch of different pages. So you have that as your reference. And then we end it with our own board policy at the end. So you will receive this IDT appeal packet at least 7 days in advance of the hearing. So you have time to review, annotate, be able to know what it's about before you are involved in the hearing. So let's shift to the responsibility of the board. And I took a lot of this out of the board policy. Couple things that generally, when you're making a decision, these are some principles that are outlined in our board policy. We ordinarily expect students to attend the school in their district of residence. Any disputes over inter-district transfers may be resolved by the governing boards of the involved districts. Again, we're hoping that has been exhausted before it comes to us. And the County Board of Education will only overturn a local school board's or district's decision under exceptional circumstances. And then if we go to the next bullet, the reason why that you may overturn it. You also are reviewing to determine whether the districts complied with the Ed Code and their own district board policies in handing the transfer request. So you're looking at policy, adherence to policy and due process, and you're looking at these other exceptional or extraordinary circumstances, which we'll talk about in a moment. So you are an appealant body. Again, you're reviewing the case to determine if the district's policy was followed and applied consistently. And you're also looking to see that the district's decision is supported by substantial evidence. You will not conduct the appeal hearing in de novo. That means is you're not hearing it for the first time or hearing it all over again. If there is new information that gets presented during the hearing, you can remand it back to the district, because then the district will say, well, wait, I didn't know that. And it might change the decision that they had originally made. So you can remand it back to the district. So here are these exceptions that are outlined in our board policy. And they go much more in detail in the board policy. You have that again in front in your packet. But these are the 5 extraordinary situations. So you might find that there's a substantial danger to a student's health or safety. And that, again, all these come with backed up evidence, substantial documentation around if this is the situation that they are saying is happening. A severe hardship to parents or guardians, substantially, I'm going to go over this one, greater than an inconvenience, because these are some factors, again, outlined in our board policy that you're not going to consider, and that parental preference or logistical inconvenience is not something that could lead to a severe hardship. And that includes like employment and driving and transportation and after school. And again, looking at the board policy, it's an area that I encourage you to read because it does outline some examples in there. A policy change, sometimes boards change their policy and it might impact a student that's been enrolled in a district for a certain period of time. So just looking at those changes and how it could impact a family and their request. Financial impact, this one usually comes again with a substantial evidence that's supporting what is the financial impact exactly. And then overcrowding and educational impact. Excuse me. Again, much more evidence here of citing what what does that really mean in numbers and in money? So, said it was brief and fast. Here we go. Let's look at resources. In your folder, I also linked these in this. I didn't know if this was going to be shared electronically or not. So in your folder, you're going to find a couple of 4 resources. First, the appeal guide itself, and that on the left, thank you. This is linked in Spanish and in English. Actually, on the left is the appeal guide and the appeal form. These are both linked on our website in Spanish and in English where families can access them. And the appeal guide is what supports families throughout the appeal process. I also call myself, I'm the human version of the appeal guide for families. So if I support them, I'm a steward for them, as well as a district who's gone through it maybe for the first time as well. The appeal guide follows along with our board policy and ed code, and again, walks the families through the whole process, but it might also be helpful for you to look at because it talks about what happens during the hearings and things like that. The appeal form itself, this is what needs to be filled out that kickstarts that timeline. And then there's also documentation attached to it, and you can see the different questions that families are being asked to respond to that again help me get a sense of what is this appeal about. Then on the right-hand side is our favorite, board policies and ed code. So these are what guide our work and our processes and our decisions. And so you have both of those there for you for your reference as well. And that ends our presentation. Do you have any questions? Yeah. Yes. Well, it could be many different things. I would say every single appeal is different.
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, the question was, so we had potentially 4 appeals that you were going to hear. And then what makes them go away? And so it really depends on the appeal itself. They're all very different. In the case of the 4, it was 3 siblings and another family. So although it sounded like a lot, it was a family that had, and then another family. And in that situation, we were able to work with the district, and the district worked with the families and figured out a solution that made sense for all of the parties. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That's the human appeal guide. Yes.
I have a question. Going through a few of these inter-district transfers, the idea of like the logistical and inconvenience is not a reason to change the ruling, and it has to be the health or safety, hardship, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just throwing this out there. So at what point will a logistical inconvenience flip and become one of those items that would be considered a reason to actually overrule and accept the transfer?
Well, I think that's your deliberation.
Yeah, that's for you to decide.
I'm hearing a need for a rubric or something. No, I really, and I'll let Austin if he wants to answer anything, but I think that's where you come into play. Yeah.
That's exactly what I would say. And also I wouldn't want to give examples because then inevitably you get that exact situation that would come down, the pipe next. So yeah, there is a ton of discretion in the education code given to this body to decide these appeals. And the policy is there because this board and past boards have decided that we needed a little bit more guardrails so that we're making consistent decisions. But sometimes we get these gray area cases. So that's a blessing and a curse for you all.
Is it clear as to why a district will say no or a school will say no when we get the information?
Yes, yes. It is definitely clear. Sometimes there is a lot of clarity and a lot of details, and sometimes there may not be. And so again, it's like you'll see differences, but you'll always will know the like general reason.
And those reasons be based on a student's behavior?
It really depends on how their board policy is written.
Okay.
So often you'll see board policies and admin regulations related to interdistrict transfers. And you'll see that behavior is a common one, attendance is another one. Again, not every district has that in their policy.
And is there a need for there to be consistency in decision-making for these districts or these schools? What am I trying to say? Well, you've let one child in and you didn't another. I mean, is that part of the play at all either, or?
So I think that's where there is a thing where it says, have they been consistently applied? So
Okay,
you'll,
yes,
that is
okay.
something where you are looking to make sure that they are being consistently
Fully
applied
applied,
to
okay.
all students in that district. So it could come into play.
Okay, thank you.
I just read in the paper that the Orcutt School District has changed their district boundaries for some of their schools. So that will go to the Orcutt board. It's not going outside of their district. And I would hope that they would have some consistency and some plan for dealing with that. But if your expertise is asked for, that might be an area where we could avoid having them go any further, maybe.
Having been through quite a few of these interdistrict appeals, I can tell you that they're never easy. They can be emotional. You have in many cases a parent trying to represent the best interests of their children. They're overwrought, and your heart wants to respond. And that's why it's really important that we have basically circumscribed to the extent that we can, understanding of what our ability is. We're not listening to cases de novo. These have been vetted. In most cases, there's a school board action, but in some cases, it's an administrative action. And sometimes that matters, sometimes that doesn't. But with respect to our ability to ask for further evidence, we can ask a school district to demonstrate why overcrowding applies in this case. So we have the ability to ask those questions and get that information. I think it's wonderful when we come to an agreement and we have an understanding of the family that's in front of us and how it feels to them, and reflect back what our ability to do to in what way we can respond fairly and in compliance. So just understanding that, we're not rubber stamping, and you're not, it's not an exercise in futility. There have been cases where there was a reason to hold the appeal. So just wanted to kind of put that out there too. It's a lot of it is a head and heart kind of combo, but we can't just throw everything up in the air because that mother she cried. I mean, we got to do it. So it's beyond the scope of just an emotional reaction, and it's got to be grounded in those true hardship cases.
That mother and father. Yeah, father. So it sounds like the entire appeal process could be 60 plus days.
So there is flexibility with that calendaring. So yeah, let me answer that question. So yes, it could. In the sense that they have 30 days from when they get the denial to then submit it to me, and then we spend 30 days. Now there is flexibility within our 30 days to, there's actually two different caveats. If there's a 5-day extension, and then there's actually another extension that our superintendent can extend any timeline for a reasonable reason. Sorry, for reasonable reason But, and so in theory, there is some flexibility for us, again, if it's grounded in, especially if there's some calendaring issues and things like that. But it could take up 30 days. It's sometimes a little shorter, and it could go a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, I'm thinking certainly in terms of if it's remanded to the district, that would help to like the clock sound. And I think the other piece is kind of got answered. Legal counsel is a part of the hearing. They're there. Yeah.
Steve, here.
I'm not sure if this is related or not. The term school of choice, how does that fit into this, if at all?
Well, there are districts of schools of choice and districts that have relationships with each other, but also within their designating schools of choice. So that again, where we have to refer to their policies. Those are outlined in a different board policy and a different AR. They have, everyone's a little bit different about what they say and what they're willing to accept or not accept when it comes to inter-district transfers. That's where, again, I go to their district website and pull out their policies to look at all of those things. And when in doubt, I go to Bridget, Susan, or off. Yeah.
Thank you.
More quick question about financial impact. Is that the financial impact for the family or the district or the school or both?
It's typically for the district in that case. And usually you'll see, especially when it comes to a lot of our districts in the southern part of county, as they're community funded. And so they might, you'll see financial as a reason for why they are denying it. We've also seen potentially a district that wouldn't release a student for financial reasons as well. I don't think that came to fruition, but that was another sort of initiated there. So it's typically, it's all what I've seen historically district. Yeah.
Sorry, one more. Can you remind me, and so when a student comes out of district into the new district, does the money follow that kid?
No.
No. Okay.
What did I say? Then I was gonna say.
So if you're
Basically.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
It will depend on how the district is funded. So if I'm a community funded district, I'm not receiving revenue based on ADA or average daily attendance.
So-
It's property taxes. So if a district is,
I know basic aid and I know.
okay, so basic aid, it would, there is no money that would be generated by that student.
Right.
And a LCFF, or what used to be called revenue limit,
Right.
you would generate ADA. So you would receive money for that student because it's based on attendance.
Okay.
So it'll
if I'm an
depend.
Income
Mhm,
district
correct.
and I'm revenue limit.
You get money for that child.
Okay.
So you might want to take in inter-district transfers. If I'm a basic aid district, I do not receive additional funding for that student.
And if that student is coming from a basic aid to a revenue limit, I still get the money.
If I'm coming from basic, it doesn't matter where you're coming from.
Okay.
It matters how the district itself that's receiving the student is
Okay.
funded.
Thank
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so-
Anyone else have anything for Dr. Simmons? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you have additional questions, you can communicate with Dr. Salcido and communicate with me. Thank you.
Great. Moving on, we have our superintendent's report.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I have several additional comments outside of the report. So let me stop on the report and see if there's any questions first from the board on anything that I submitted so far. Okay, Judy.
Not a question, but a
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Now that we've had some of the division reports and their activity, the structuring of your superintendent's report following that structure is very helpful in highlighting what each area has done. And then of course, summarizing with your social agenda.
Yeah. At the end.
Is, I like that very much.
Oh,
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate that feedback. So so May, the month of May has many celebrations, Teacher Appreciation Week, Classified Appreciation Week, many appreciations, within it. And, in celebration, I wanted to say thank you, for, contributing to the Imadanari Square coming up for Imadanari, which we have beautiful chalk art behind us and we'll likely have more from this year's event. So we together, SBCO leadership, board members who've contributed, will have a 12 by 12 foot square, a beautiful square at, make sure to share that image with you afterwards. So we have shared it with we will be sharing with our employees that square is in honor of our employees here at SBCO. So thank you very much for that. Also want to talk about some events. The big show, President Cardy was talking about the big show. You may have seen the signs in the auditorium. You're welcome to attend after the board meeting. It officially starts at 5:30, but I know that they'd love for you to walk through and see the beautiful artwork, woodwork from the students. These are students from the Santa Barbara Unified School District, and Trade Art is the nonprofit that's putting this forward. And Frank Skipper, by the way, who he and Leslie, his wife, are the ones who are behind this. Frank sponsors each year a Melvin Marvin Career Technical Education Award at our education celebration. So they're all connected. And so that is happening this afternoon. So on your way out, please do stop by. Another event, of course, we've talked about the education celebration. Several of you have RSVP. That's in 2 weeks, May 22nd. But I also wanted to put on your radar something for October. We know that you are busy people. So we want to make sure that you have the date now. We honor and recognize incredible educators at our Salute to Teachers event at the Music Academy of the West in Montecito. And that date is Saturday, October 25th. Saturday, October 25th. It's start time is around 5:30, I want to say. 5 o'clock. So I wanted to give you the date now so you could hold it on your calendar. So October 25th. Next category I wanted to share with you are in the category of awards. So last Friday night, the Tri-Counties, San Luis Obispo, Ventura, and Santa Barbara got together and celebrated the Association of California School Administrators Award, ACSA. There were many incredible awards given out that evening. I want to share two with the board. First, the Eric Frost Memorial Award. Yes, and I will say it's a Judy Frost Award too, because Eric and Judy are a team. And the individual who received the Eric Frost Memorial Award is Leslie Wagenseller from Orchid. She's the Executive Director of Technology and Education. It was a wonderful tribute to Eric and Judy. I was thinking about you the whole time, and really well-deserved award. The second award that I wanted to share with you was a Leadership Matters Award. The one award for the Tri-Counties area went to Ellen Barker, our Associate Superintendent. Yay! Yay! Yes. It was really well-deserved, exciting. Since we're talking about awards, I also want to share that the our comms team, and so Cami Barnwell and Delaney and Isabel attended the California School Public Relations Association's CalSPRA event, and they received a statewide award for comms production, this time in the area of school safety and awareness. So Cami, congratulations. Yeah. That was earlier this year, and I saved it for this awards presentation. And I want to say, share with you some changes within districts in our organization that you may already know about, but Buellton Union School District has selected its new superintendent to begin July 1st. So Dr. Randy Haggard is retiring at the end of the school year. Adam Bailey is coming on board. Dr. Adam Bailey, he's currently a principal at Carter High School in Rialto Unified School District in the San Bernardino County. very rigorous process, and they selected Dr. Bailey, and we're very excited to welcome him into the county. Our special education local plan area, SELPA, Dr. Ray Avila, who has presented to the board before. He is retiring at the end of this year. And incoming is Dr. Stacy McGrath Smith. She's a SELPA director now, right now at Poway. She's got a long history in special education, supporting inclusive practices, and we're really excited to have her. And I shared with the board, but I just want to make sure that you knew that for sure. And we're able to see her right here. Mari Gonzalez, who's announced that after next school year, she and her family are moving to the state of Washington. Really excited for Mari and her family. Thankfully, we have her for another year. But we did share that Gina Branham, who is an assistant superintendent in Guadalupe Union School District now, will be joining us July 1st as Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. Gina was with us before. She worked under Ellen in curriculum and instruction as a director. Gina is she's going to be wonderful. Fortunately, we'll have Mari here for another year, working with me, supporting the HR division. Lots of work that Mari will do for the 1 year in terms of compliance and policy support and legal support as well. So Mari, thankfully, we have you for a while longer, and we're excited about Gina as well. And yeah, it's really exciting. So when you go through all of this, you worry, did I miss something? So I just say, I hope I didn't miss anything. I hope I got it all. But with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Susan. These reports are great, and they're so fun to look back on too. So we'll entertain a vote for the consent agenda. And again, the items on the consent agenda are the same each time. The minutes of our last meeting in April, registration of credentials and certification documents, including temporary county certificates, the acceptance of donations, and a declaration of surplus.
So moved. And second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is an action item. This comes from the board policy committee. We met last month and reviewed 5 board policies. Several of them, 3, in fact, are brand new to us. And then the other 2 had a need to be revised with some different information. The independent study program applies to students in JCCS only. The role of the board, which is great. It's the spectrum of responsibility so that the board understands what those are. And then the governance standards. That's about implementing those very expectations and duties. And the new one is the conduct and duties of the president. Apparently it's not a monarchy and it's the queen. News to me. And then the legal protections, and that's protections against liability in cases where it applies and doesn't. So we've adopted, you can read more about it. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Rita, thank you. A second? And a question from Judy.
It's just the nit that on independent study programs, page 7. Independent study programs, page 7, the 4th paragraph from the top. It says the parent guardian signature. It doesn't say caregiver. And I think it includes caregiver. I know it's a nit. I just had to say something.
Independent study on the marked copy?
I was speaking from the marked up copy.
I see it right here.
And if you look down on, let me see. The other part. does it include caregiver?
Judy, when you're mentioning caregiver, you're saying it's different from the marked copy through the
No,
items, or you're questioning the fact that it doesn't include
thank you.
caregiver.
I'm questioning the fact that on the marked up copy, it doesn't include caregiver. There's another section, I believe, that it defines what a caregiver is, or am I hallucinating on that?
Yeah,
Are you talking about where it says the parent / guardian signature?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason I'm also wondering, because I'm not sure that we outline caregiver. I have to go back and look at it. Caregiver to me feels a little less
Less official.
defined as official authority to engage with an independent.
I will
Study
find
agreement,
where
so-
I saw caregiver.
Yeah, if there's something I'm missing, I would need to.
Okay,
Go back
I
through
will
it.
look for that.
You see it
Thank
on
you.
page 6.
Thank you.
Anna just said that sees it on page 6. Can you, okay.
First full paragraph.
Oh, here it is. Oh, for the
Parent
purpose of
guardian.
the above paragraph, caregiver means a person who has met the requirements of family.
Oh, yeah, it's in the red part.
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
That's why it made a
Ah.
impression on me, because
Mhm.
it was one of the
That makes
things
sense.
we added on page 6, that caregiver means a person, and then right on the top of page 7, we don't list it, but then I don't know that it needs to be.
Judy, can I contract with you as an editor?
Yeah, clearly caught me on a good day
That
that I
was,
can
that was really
remember
good.
from
That makes
one
sense.
time.
I see that. Mhm.
It's interesting because we do not say it anywhere else in the policy. And so it's a CSBA thing. And so I'm just wondering if there is a desire by the board to go back through the policy and add caregiver in where it says parent guardian, or if the question was more like, what would be the desire of the board?
That you lined it out for a reason, so potentially the reason is the guardian implies authority.
Correct,
Caregiver does not.
correct.
I could be a caregiver and not have the authority or whatever.
But that might be defined in the family code.
Right, so it's related to that one paragraph, and I guess my question back to the board is there a desire to relook at the policy by including language where it references parent guardian throughout the policy, to relook at that and add or caregiver, or is it simply a question because there are multiple places within the policy that are parent guardian is
Yes.
referenced. So just for direction, is it something you want that to be relooked at? And possibly included, or was it, or are you fine with it as is?
I will throw that back to you. Because on page 6, it is specifically added and even defined as per family. I would ask
Mhm.
if an issue came forward to you and there was a caregiver, would we say, oh, well, that's okay because of this statement? In other words, does the entire policy need to be changed, added,
Mhm.
caregiver for that? Or does this defining on page 6 cover it for our purposes? And I guess this is hitting a nerve with me, because so many of my friends who are grandparents and whatever are caregiving now for their kids. And that's always a touchy subject.
Well, in this specific paragraph on 5 and the top of 6 is related to students with disabilities
Right.
specifically. So it is calling that group out versus and in
Others.
response to caregiver. So as I look at that a little bit more carefully, that is what that paragraph is directly referring to.
So then my question would be, is that intended to be only referring to that paragraph? And if so,
Correct, based
Fine.
on ed code.
right, okay,
Mhm.
super. I'm sorry. I
No,
thought
it's a
that was
great
just-
question.
Yeah, very good.
It made me go back and relook at it. So I'm like, let me look at that again.
Thank you very
Mhm.
much for your patience.
Thanks for working it through.
Right, well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Thank you, Judy, for your eagle eye.
And I want to thank the committee so much. You know, we've got hundreds of policies, yet we didn't have one on the duties and role of the president or the role of the board. And
Yeah.
I applaud
Mhm.
them for, even in lieu of having a slew of policies, including those. Thank you.
It was
Add
really
it to
nice
our
to read.
binder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really good to read.
Very
and-
good to read.
Yeah, we're like, oh, okay. this is
So
good."
that's what we're supposed to do. Glad I hadn't read it before I was the president.
We're slowly moving toward
Yeah.
adaptation of all the CSBA rulings, and we'll just continue to bring board policies forward in tranches and thank you. So our next item is the personnel report, which is there for your information attached to your packet. No action required. And at this time, we are going to call for a closed session. So we'll just need our board and Dean Torres, legal, etc. Thank you.